So the New York Islanders hang on and find a way to win over the Tampa Bay Lightning after playing what was almost a perfect road game for them, in my opinion. I don't normally review these types of games. I usually just do Sens games, or I've always just done Sens games. But I'm going to take a crack at doing these teams now, since there are only 4 left in the league right now vying for the Stanley Cup. So let's get into it. So I thought Tampa came out with a good, strong forecheck to start the game. They were forcing some turnovers. They probably were the better team for the first little bit. But then the Islanders got some power plays and they really gained steam and momentum, and they outshot the Lightning throughout a stretch in that first period of 13-2. The New York Islanders don't get enough credit for how well they attack and how well they forecheck. I think a lot of people just think of them as this team that hangs back and plays a boring style of defense. They actually go up and they force the issue too, and they were doing a lot of that in that first period. But despite the Islanders' strong efforts, they are 0 for 2 on the power play. It's 0-0 after 1. And New York, they had to be a little concerned being 0 for 2 on the power play, because remember we talked about how good Tampa's power play was. And that could easily start going through the Islanders' minds like, hey, we didn't score on our power plays. Now what if Tampa gets a power play and they score on theirs because of how hot their power play has been? But, you know, the Islanders are not going to let too many things bother them, and they'll stick with that trend here in the second. And in that second period, Tampa Bay started out with a pretty good push of their own. I think they got the riot act from John Cooper in that first intermission, probably telling them to get going here. Don't fall asleep on these Islanders. They're very quick. They're a lot faster than people give them credit for as well, and I think Tampa saw that in the first period. So Tampa comes out with some good jump. But then the Islanders regain their footing, and that would eventually lead to a Matt Barzal goal, his 4th of the season, on a breakaway off of Steven Stamkos' turnover. That was assisted by Josh Bailey. It's 1-0 for the New York Islanders. Matt Barzal now has 4 goals in his last 5 games. That's great news for New York that he's heating up. Terrible news for the Tampa Bay Lightning, because you couple that with the fact that the Islanders play so stingy defensively, and then their best player is playing like their best player. Tampa could really be in trouble here. And I just want to mention too, I thought it was really interesting that Steven Stamkos, of all people, was benched by John Cooper after the mistake. And Stamkos is a veteran guy who, yeah, you would expect to know better, but still, he's one of your best players on the team. And maybe he's not as good as he used to be, but still, like I said, one of the best players on that Tampa Bay team. And John Cooper not pulling any punches. He's showing Steven Stamkos and the rest of the Lightning that's not acceptable for anyone. I don't care what the name is on the back of your sweater. You can't make a play like that. So instead of getting that puck deep, Stamkos turned it over, and it led to the Barzal goal and led to Steven Stamkos being benched up until the Tampa Bay Lightning had a power play late in that second period with about 37 seconds to go. And as stingy as the New York Islanders are defensively, you have to know that they're thinking in their heads, okay, we got to get at least 1 or 2 more here in this third period. Because Tampa, they have so much offense, they're very explosive, they can break out at any time. So, like I said, New York probably trying to get that third or that second goal to get up ahead 2-0. And surely enough, they would, as 5:36 into that third period, Ryan Pulock would score, assisted by Jordan Eberle. What a shot by Pulock. For Vasilevsky, though, that goal, it's got some odor on it, let's be honest. And there's not too many goals we can say that about Andrei Vasilevsky on. That one he would definitely like to have back, I'm sure. And after New York got up 2-0, I thought they played a really good road third period when having the lead. Tampa, yeah, they did have a few pushes in that third period, but it's to be expected. Varlamov was solid when he had to be. But New York, though, I thought they had a lot of zone time with having the lead. They were almost doing like a textbook clinic on how to defend the lead pretty much, despite Tampa having a few pushes. But like I said, that's to be expected. The Lightning are a great team, but the Islanders, they really held the fort well. But New York would make things a little bit harder than what it had to be in that third period, as with 1:38 to go, Brock Nelson would get the stick up for a cross-checking penalty on Nikita Kucherov. There was some debate whether or not it actually hit Kucherov in the face. Nelson was kind of pleading his case to the officials about that, but nonetheless, he's in the box, so it's a Tampa power play. And when the Lightning need a big goal these days, who do they turn to? Well, Braden Point. Who else? He gets his 9th of the season, as he would make a nice move in tight. He's so good in tight. People don't give him a lot of credit for how good he is right in tight like that. He's not the biggest guy, but he's really good in the net front area. He gets his 9th of the playoffs, and that's assisted by Killorn and Kucherov. Just like that, it's 2-1 with 53 seconds to go for the Islanders. I just want to mention too, that goal came at 6-on-4. Vasilevsky was on the bench, so it was a 2-man advantage for Tampa. And then Tampa would keep pressing with Vasilevsky on the bench with a more conventional 6-on-5 this time. But the New York Islanders hold the fort. They hang on to win 2-1 in regulation. A classic New York Islanders win, 2-1. New York, I thought they were the better team in this game. I mean, Tampa had their moments where they kind of pushed, but to be honest, all throughout the game, for the most part, I thought the Islanders were better. They stuck to their game plan more. Maybe Tampa wasn't at their best, but I thought New York was more than at their best and ready for this series to start for sure. What adjustments do you make in Game 2 now if you're John Cooper? Maybe you go more of a dump and chase route instead of carrying it in over the Islanders' blue line, because New York, they always seem to have numbers back and they make it very hard for you to carry the puck in. So if you're John Cooper and the Lightning coaching staff, maybe you want to make a bit of an adjustment there, get a forecheck going. Test the Islanders' D, how they can handle a strong forecheck, just as the Islanders test Tampa's D. And I thought, Tampa, they coughed up a few pucks, notably Mikhail Sergachev, I thought had a pretty rough game. But you have to expect, if you're New York anyways, that Tampa Bay is going to bounce back and be at their absolute best in Game 2. So the Islanders are going to have to ratchet it up a little bit as well to match the Tampa Bay Lightning's intensity in Game 2. But those are my thoughts on this game. Please let me know what you all think in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.